Hey guys, it's Matt Higgins. So today I want to do my review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. It is a few weeks after the movies come out, and it usually takes me some time to digest these movies before I can really give a thoughtful opinion on it, so that's why it's taken so long. Hopefully everyone had an excellent new year, and I'm looking forward to another year of Star Wars videos. So if you guys have any suggestions, please leave those in the comments below, because I do really appreciate when you guys leave video ideas. I can't think of everything myself, and so I do dip into the comments to look for some ideas, and I really do appreciate when you guys leave them, because it helps me out, and also it helps you guys out because those are the types of videos that you want to see. So I'm going to break down this review into two parts. First, I'm going to talk about what I liked, and then I'm going to talk about what I didn't necessarily like. Now, I know there's been a lot of backlash lately about the movie and some of the choices that they made. I'm not one of those people. I did enjoy this movie, and my personal belief is that people are taking this too seriously, and it's a movie, guys. Just, you don't need to overanalyze it. You don't need to pick it apart to the nth degree. I know it's Star Wars, and we love to do that as Star Wars fans, but we also have to find our level and not go past that to the point where we don't enjoy watching the movies anymore. That takes the fun out of Star Wars, I think. It's totally reasonable to not like a movie, and some of the Last Jedi criticisms have some ground to them, and they really do. But for me, I see a lot of people who are kind of similar to the prequels latching onto this bandwagon of, oh, some people say this movie isn't good, so it must be true, it must not be good, and then they go in and they're predisposed to looking for the negative aspects of the movie. So with that, let's start with the positive aspects of the film. So the first thing I want to talk about is Rian Johnson's cinematography. He did an amazing job at catching some of the most beautiful shots in that film. I know a lot of people really liked when Vice Admiral Holdo took the Raddus into hyperspace and went right through Snoke's Star Destroyer, and it was absolutely silent. That was beautiful, and the angles were just perfect. I think he did a really good job of capturing the beauty of Star Wars, and I think that bodes well for the new trilogy that'll be coming out sometime in the far future. The next thing I liked is a pretty simple one, and that's that it wasn't a rehash of The Empire Strikes Back. I know a lot of people complained with The Force Awakens that it was too similar to A New Hope, and I think that this movie really deviated from that. I think that they took this film and got out of their comfort zone. With The Force Awakens being the first Star Wars movie that's come out in over 10 years, they had to play a more conservative game to make sure that they weren't turning away any previous Star Wars fans. Obviously, some people didn't like it, and that's fair. Not everybody's going to like the movie, but overall, in general, it was a success, a very big success. And so now with the Last Jedi, they wanted to take those risks, the ones that they originally wanted to make. And some of those paid off, some of those didn't. But what I was really happy with was that it was an original story. The next part I liked was the character development. Specifically, Rey and Kylo Ren in particular were really fleshed out in this movie. In The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren was an immature apprentice of Snoke. Rey was a nobody, and now in this movie they're finding their role. Rey is becoming a Jedi. Obviously, Kylo Ren has become the new supreme leader. They are finding their place in the galaxy, and their places are setting them up for a confrontation in the future. And for the next thing, speaking of Rey, I really liked that Rey's parents were nobody. And this, to me, was the big takeaway from the film, was that you don't have to be somebody special to be a Jedi. You don't have to come from a long line of Force users. You don't have to be some rich person's kid or something like that. You can be anybody. You could be a slave. You could be a poor person, a smuggler. Anybody could be a Jedi. Anybody can be Force sensitive. I think that was the take-home message for me, and I really liked that Rey embodied that message well. The next thing I liked were the twists. I would say the biggest twist for me was Snoke's death, and that one really caught me off guard. Again, if you watched my prequel references video, I really liked that it was kind of the embodiment of what Sidious was talking to Anakin about in Revenge of the Sith at the opera scene, was that all who gain power are afraid to lose it. Now, Snoke, like Sidious again, was high on his power. He believed that he could not be betrayed and that he had subdued his apprentice into obedience. But what ends up happening, obviously, is they get betrayed. Obviously, Anakin at that point, Anakin was no longer Darth Vader at that point, threw the Emperor into the shaft on the Death Star and turned good. In this case, Snoke was killed by Kylo Ren, but Kylo Ren remained bad. And that's another point that I liked, is I liked that Kylo Ren was not redeemed. I felt like if he was redeemed, it would be A, too early, and B, it would be just a rehash of what we've seen before. So I like that they kept him on the bad side, and I think now it's solidified that he is bad. He's not going back to the good side. Again, I can't say for certain because we don't know what's going to happen in Episode 9, but I think with this film, what they really cemented was that Kylo Ren is evil. He is not going to be back on the good side. The last thing I want to talk about for the stuff that I liked was the humor. Now, I didn't like all of the humor, but some of it was pretty good. I did like what they did with the Porgs. I was concerned that they were going to overdo it, but I think they kept them to an appropriate level. Especially the scene, the one that I liked in particular, was where there were Porgs on Anakin's lightsaber, and one was staring down the hilt while the other one was poking at the button. I thought that was really funny, as well as when Chewbacca had a roasted Porg and they were all staring there at him crying. I thought that was hilarious. I also thought Luke was pretty funny too, especially the part where he told Rey to reach out and she physically reaches out with her arm and he tickles her hand with the grass blade, and I thought that was really funny. I enjoyed that one. Alright, so for the stuff that I wasn't so much of a fan of, a lot of people didn't like the Canto Bight sequence. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I still enjoyed it, but to me it felt like the weakest plot line in this film. To me it felt kind of rushed, almost like, okay, here's Canto Bight, we got what we need, we got DJ, let's go. And it was quick. But I remember my first time watching the movie and thinking to myself when we were on Canto Bight that I just wanted to get back to the other two arcs, with the one with Leia and the one with Luke and Rey. So it's not that I didn't enjoy it, I just thought it was the weakest of the main story arcs. Now, I did like Rose. I know a lot of people didn't really like her that much. I thought that their love was kind of cheesy at the end, although again, I try not to read too much into it as a Star Wars fan. I just enjoy it for what it is. And lastly, the one thing that I kind of didn't like about the movie, again, was the humor. There were some parts of the movie that I think had humor that could have been left out. The part that specifically comes to mind for me is when Hux and Poe Dameron are having their little on-hold session at the beginning of the movie. It was funny at the time, but it seemed out of place, and I think especially with General Hux, it took him out of character, and I think that was the big thing that I really didn't like about that sequence. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for this brief review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. I know it's about 4 weeks later, but I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts, quick thoughts on the movie, and I'll let you guys chew on those for a little bit. I will do an Episode 9 prediction video. I think this movie set up a lot of good things coming in Episode 9, and plus with Chris Terrio writing the movie with J.J. Abrams, and Chris Terrio being a prequels fan, and them repeatedly stating that they want to wrap up all 3 trilogies with elements of each in Episode 9, I think that we might even see more prequel references in Episode 9 than in The Last Jedi. So let me know what you guys thought of Last Jedi in the comments below. I know some of you guys liked it, some of you guys didn't like it so much. I want to hear what you guys have to say and see your point of view. As we all know, the truths that we cling to are depend greatly on our point of view. So with that, guys, enjoy your first week of January here and getting back to work and school for all you guys there. And other than that, may the force be with you always.